Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Buhay Probiotics. Ito ay ang bagong food supplement na gawa sa mga piling gulay at prutas at dumaan sa isang masusing proseso para mapangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay dinisenyo para sa kalusugan ng ating tiyan, tulungan ng pagkuha ng sapat na nutrisyon at ang pagpapalabas sa ating sistema ng mga nakakasirang toxins. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may iba't ibang disenyo at sangkap base sa inyong pangangailangan. Mula sa boost para sa mga bata, fortitude, boost to great, miracle fruit, periwinkle, at ang pinakabago, liver pro. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may pagmamalaki na produktong gawa sa tanla. Ito ay mabibili sa Dashen, Geta Road, San Sebastian, Phase 3, Binalgana, Tarlac City. At para sa mga malalayong lugar, mabibili din ang produkto ng Equilibrium Probiotics sa Lazada. Ito ay eksklusibong gawa ni Ginang Malu Reyes Murray. Ano pang hinihintay nyo, mga kasangga? Hala, bili na! Magandang umaga po sa kanilang lahat, mga kasangga. Ngayon po ay araw ng Huwebes, August 10, 2023. At kagaya po ng napapabalita sa Pag-asa, maganda naman po ang panahon ngayong araw na to. At wala pong mga bagyo na papasok sa ating bansa sa mga darating pa ng mga araw, kaya maganda-ganda po ang kaya ng panahon. Let's make the full use out of good weather. Kaya mga nice mag-exercise bago magtrabaho. Mag-walking muna tayo. At para sa mga nakahiga pa, gising! Tanghali na! Kailangan po muna tayong magagahan, di ba? Huwag po po nang dire-diretso papasok sa trabaho. Kaya kailangan po muna natin magkarga, mag-recharge. At ito po ang inyong daily dose of news, ang MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Samahan niyo po ang inyong Kuya Dong habang magbibigay po ako ng mga nagbabalang balita, mga news updates sa loob at labas ng ating bansa. Sa ganun tayo po laging updated. Pero bago po natin simulan ang ating pagbabalita, samahan niyo po muna ako sa isang maikling panalangin. Sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak, Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal namin lumikha, maraming salamat sa bagong araw na ipinagkaloob ninyo sa amin. Sa mamayapang gabing lumipas at sa patuloy na pagbuhos ng iyong mga biyaya sa amin at sa aming bayan. Naway ipagdalo mo pa sa amin ang lakas at tibay ng loob upang mapaglabanan ang kasamaan at manatili po kami sa paggawa ng mabuti sa kapwa at sa pagsunod sa inyong itinurong tamang landas. Lahat ng gawain namin, inaalay namin sa iyong anak na si Jesus, na aming Panginoon. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak, Espiritu Santo. Amen. MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Hatid sa inyo ni Kuya Dong. Tayo po ngayon nagpo-broadcast live via TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Live, and YouTube. We are using a multimedia platform. Sa ganun po mas marami pa po tayong maabot, marating sa mga manonood. Samahan niyo po ako dito sa ating almost 1 hour na pagbabalita. Shoutout po sa mga nag-join sa TikTok. Len Marie. At kay Godofredo Cortez. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagantabay. At sa mga nag-join po sa Facebook Live, magandang umaga po. And here is the summary of our top stories for today. August 10, 2023. Philippines-US begin joint WPS patrols by year-end. DPWH study water impounding system versus floods. Marcos Jr. No government deal to leave Ayungin. Canada media seek probe of Meta's news block. Novotos cops shot teen over mistaken identity. Manila City Council declares drag artist persona non grata. Cebu bans hogs sport from Bohol. And finally in sports, Gilas women fall short versus Japanese to end Jones Cup's stint at 1-4. Magandang umaga, Richelle Tayang, our favorite baker. Good morning din, PWD President Ramon Berenger, PWD President po ng Barangay Maligaya. Magandang umaga sa iyo, Brad. And to start off with our top story. Philippines-US begin joint WPS patrols by year-end. Report by Michael Ponambayan to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Joint maritime patrols in West Philippine Sea between Philippines and the United States are expected to begin by the end of the year. The discussions between the Philippines and the U.S. on the joint sails in the West Philippine Sea are now in advanced stages. National Security Council Assistant Director and National Task Force of the West Philippine Sea spokesman Jonathan Malaya said at the Laging Handa public hearing yesterday. Efforts to have joint maritime patrols with the U.S. stemmed from the various incidents between the Philippines and China in the West Philippine Sea in the past years. Just last Saturday, a supply boat commissioned by the Philippine Navy that was being escorted by a Philippine Coast Guard vessel was again harassed by China Coast Guard. The rotation and resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal, where soldiers are stationed at the BRP Sierra Madre failed after a Chinese vessel fired a water cannon to drive away the resupply boat. Some details are being ironed out between both sides, and we are very hopeful that it will be launched before the end of this year, Malaya said. The joint maritime patrols are expected to help promote freedom of navigation in West Philippine Sea and South China Sea and prevent similar incidents from happening. Malaya said President Marcos called a command conference on Monday to discuss the water cannon attack, and the government has a menu of options on what it can do moving forward. For reasons of national security, I cannot divulge it right now because we cannot be telegraphing our punches, he said. Malaya nevertheless gave assurance that National Security Advisor Eduardo Año has stressed that we will never abandon Ayungin Shoal. There was never any promise in the past that we will abandon Ayungin Shoal, and we are committed to Ayungin, and we will keep on resupplying our troops because Ayungin Shoal is a symbol of our sovereignty, he said. On China's claim that Philippines has promised to remove the grounded BRP Sierra Madre from Ayungin Shoal, Malaya said there is no record of such pledge or agreement and challenged China to show proof. At hindi nila tanungin yung nagpunta ng China. Diba? Yung bumisita ng China kailan lang. Baka yun ang nangako. We're also wondering about the basis of that statement from the Chinese embassy because if you ask anyone from under this administration or previous administration, there's no such commitment or promise, he emphasized. If China firmly believes there's an agreement, then they should identify who promised them because it might not have been an official of government, he added. International condemnation. Meanwhile, United States Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin III snapped the CCG yesterday for its water cannon attack on a supply boat delivering food and other supplies to the Sierra Madre at Ayungin. He condemned the use of water cannon and other dangerous maneuvers which put the safety of Philippine vessels and crew at risk. Austin joined numerous other countries in expressing concern about this unsafe operational activities which undermine the status quo and directly threaten regional peace and stability. The ranking U.S. official issued a statement during a phone call with Defense Secretary Gilbert Teodoro when they discussed the U.S.-Philippines alliance and cooperation. Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder said both defense chiefs discussed recent events in the South China Sea, including China's efforts to obstruct the resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal. He said Austin and Teodoro, during their conversation, reaffirmed their shared commitment to upholding the rules-based order, including supporting the Philippines' right to conduct lawful maritime activities consistent with the 2016 arbitral tribunal ruling, which is final and binding on all parties, with additional reports from PLE Brago. Moving on to our next top story, DNR DPWH study water impounding system versus floods. Report by Bella Carriazo to the Philippine Star. And this report is brought to you by Equilibrium Probiotics. Please scan the QR code to see the health benefits. Manila, Philippines. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources and Department of Public Works and Highways are jointly studying the construction of water impounding systems as well as flood control structures as mitigation approaches to climate change and its impact amid the flooding experienced in many areas in the country following rains brought by Typhoon Egay and the southwest monsoon. Environment Secretary Maria Antonia Yulo Loizaga said yesterday, "We are looking at our respective budgets and our programs to see how we can design multipurpose infrastructure to actually serve the different needs of agriculture, power, water for domestic use, and for industry," Loizaga said. She added that DNR is refocusing the government's water security strategy to maximizing the utilization of the country's water resources. Multi-purpose water infrastructure include dams, reservoirs, sewage treatment plants, associated irrigation canals, and water supply networks, which may be used for more than one purpose for economic, social, and environmental activities. Former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson has proposed the construction of a 200-hectare water impounding area in Pampanga's Candaba Swamp to prevent flooding in nearby and low-lying areas. Good morning, Dimple. Gandang umaga sa iyo. Loisaga said that aside from the DPWH, the DNR is working closely with other concerned government agencies such as the National Economic and Development Authority, Local Water Utilities Administration, and Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System in building public water supply facilities for multiple usage. She added that the DNR is coordinating with the Department of Finance to see how the government can incentivize public-private partnerships for bulk water supply and other projects that can deliver water where it is most needed. Loisaga also disclosed that the World Bank has expressed interest in funding multipurpose infrastructure to address sectors critically endangered because of climate change. Aside from multipurpose water infrastructure, the DNR said the government is also looking at tapping other water sources and to recycle wastewater as the need for stable and steady water supply increases on the back of growing demand and the threat of El Nino. The UST backs water retention infrastructure. The Department of Science and Technology has expressed support for Malacanang's push for the establishment of a water retention infrastructure in Pampanga as a long-term solution to the worsening flooding problem in Central Luzon, especially in the provinces of Bulacan and Pampanga. Science Secretary Renato Solidum, guest speaker at the Kapihan sa Manila Bay Media Breakfast Forum yesterday, said there is a need to put in place long-term and smarter solutions to problems arising from climate change and global warming. Solidum added that solutions should also look at other issues in modern communities in real-world community situations such as over-extraction of groundwater and the resulting subsidence that exacerbates heavy waterfall in the country's regions and consequently aggravates floods during the rainy season. Indeed, we should always think that the cause of flooding is there's excess water from heavy rainfall, he said. The DOST chief, however, noted that there is also another emerging challenge of ground subsidence in many urban areas due to over-extraction of groundwater. There is ground sinking and subsidence that is happening because of the over-extraction of groundwater that is also happening. It really contributes to long-term flooding, Soridum said in English and Filipino. The overall solution should be a combination of many things, especially water retention basins, because of if the ground subsides, flooding will become long-term, but the water will come from above, he explained. Water retention basins will help in the management of the flow of water during these times of heavy rainfall, according to the DOST chief. You really need to control the large volume of water to be draining down right away. That is why the President mentioned the importance of water impounding basin, water retention basin, he said, referring to President Marcos. He added that the DOST would help check out the design of proposed water retention basins for its efficacy to manage heavy rain overflow. We will have to look at the design, but definitely whenever you have a water impounding retention basin, more areas will be saved, not having any, Solidum said. He added that building water retention infrastructure should also be complemented by another solution, which is relocate communities in areas with a chronic flooding problem. The solution being eyed by the Bulacan provincial government led by Governor Daniel Fernando, which is to build a mega dike had merit, but the DOST secretary said a dike solution should be thoroughly studied. It has to be designed properly, Solidum said. He added that the dike infrastructure also costs a lot of money. It's good that the local government unit approached San Miguel Corp so that they can plan better how to manage the flood. Of course, you need funding, Solidum said. Eventually, you look at the cost of building things versus just relocating a few people, which would be better for development, he added. Dismay. Senators expressed dismay over the massive flooding in many parts of the country after two consecutive typhoons in the past week, despite having about a 1 trillion peso budget for flood control and management programs. During yesterday's public hearing of the Senate Committee on Public Works chaired by Senator Ramon Revilla Jr., senators lamented the bad effects of the massive flooding in many parts of the country, most of which remain submerged. Senator Rafi Tofo urged government officials to look into alleged corruption in the administration of dams and persistent flooding problems in the country. Tulfo pointed out the importance of immediately solving the flooding problem, particularly in Metro Manila and nearby provinces such as Bulacan, Pampanga, and Cavite. He stressed that the problem is not totally inevitable, as floods are completely preventable and avoidable if dams are better run and equipped. Senator Cynthia Villar lamented that pumping stations in her home city of Las Piñas are causing floods instead of addressing the problem. Thus, she questioned Metro Manila Development Authority Chairman Romando Artes about the agency's activities. Artes, however, told senators, I can say that the pumping stations are working at 100% capacity. Many have been rehabilitated. Revilla also questioned Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonoan as to what happened to the flood control and management programs, which cost about 726 billion for the agency and 9 billion for the MMDA. Bonoan explained that many of them are still ongoing. Senators also warned of the possible flooding effect of reclaiming land from Manila Bay during the same hearing. Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva earlier blamed the flooding in Bulacan to reclamation projects as well as DPWH's failure to fully utilize its 182 billion flood control budget this year, with additional reports from Danessa Rivera, Rainier Alan Ronda, Cecil Suerte Felipe, Mark Jason Cayabyab, and Ramon Efren Lazaro. Good morning, Ceci. Ang aking pamangkin, si Jaime Pangan, is watching. Moving on to our next top story. Marcos Jr., no government deal to leave Ayungin. Report by Alexis Romero to the Philippine Star. Marcos Jr., no government deal to leave Ayungin. Report by Alexis Romero to the Philippine Star. If deal exists, I rescind that agreement as of now. Manila, Philippines. The Philippines never promised China that it would remove the BRP Sierra Madre from Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea, according to President Marcos. I'm not aware of such agreement that the Philippines will remove from its own territory its ship, in this case the BRP Sierra Madre from the Ayungin Shoal. Marcos said in a video message sent to reporters yesterday, and let me go further. If there does exist such an agreement, I rescind that agreement as of now, he added. Ayungin Shoal is located about 105 nautical miles from Palawan, which faces the West Philippine Sea. It is within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone and part of the country's continental shelf. The BRP Sierra Madre is a rusty ship that has been grounded at the shoal since 1999, serves as a detachment of Navy troops stationed in the area. China is also claiming the shoal, which calls Wen Ai Jiao. Chinese ships have been blocking the Philippines' resupply missions to the shoal, prompting Manila to file a number of diplomatic protests. On August 5, a Chinese Coast Guard ship blocked and fired water cannon on Philippine boats while en route to Ayungin Shoal for a routine troop rotation and resupply mission. The Armed Forces of the Philippines has condemned the CCG's action, describing it as excessive and offensive. China, whose expansive maritime claim in the South China Sea was voided by an arbitral court in 2016, has defended the use of water cannon in Philippine ships, saying it was professional, restrained, and beyond reproach. It has also described its Coast Guard's action as appropriate and in accordance with the law. Ang sarap pa na, no? Last Monday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry claimed that the Philippines had promised to tow away the BRP Sierra Madre at Ayungin Shoal, but has yet to do so. Sino kaya kausap ng mga damuho na to? The National Security Council also denied China's claim and insisted that the Philippines would not abandon the shoal. Sa panaginip niyo, we are not aware of it, and there was no such promise, National Security Advisor Eduardo Año told the Star in a text message yesterday. In an interview with state-run People's Television, NSC Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya disputed China's statement that its recent action in Ayungin was beyond reproach. They placed the lives of our personnel in the supply ships at risk, the NSC official said. So how can the Chinese government say that their conduct was professional, restrained, and beyond reproach? The Presidential Communications Office also maintained that there was no promise to remove the BRP Sierra Madre from Ayungin, intentionally known as the Second Thomas Shoal. No such thing, the PCO Secretary Cheloy Girafil said in a text message. Suspension. Senators on Wednesday welcomed President Marcos' order to suspend all reclamation projects in Manila Bay, except for one, as they urged the government to reject Chinese-funded projects amid tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Senator Risa Hontiveros said the government should reject all China-funded reclamation projects, including the waterfront reclamation project that contracted a subsidiary of the Chinese state firm China Communications Construction to build artificial islands on the historic bay. The U.S. Embassy in Manila earlier opposed the reclamation project near its headquarters along Rojas Boulevard for its ties to the CCC, which was blacklisted by Washington in 2020 for having a role in the building of artificial and militarized islands in the South China Sea. Government should not approve reclamation projects by China's state-owned companies anymore. Certainly not now. I am urging government to reject all China-funded reclamation projects in the Philippines, Ontiveros said. Senator J.V. Ejercito, another critic of Chinese-funded reclamation projects, said Chinese vessels undertaking reclamation on Manila Bay should be checked for spies. But hindi nyo tignan din yung mga pogo, mga mukhang sundalo, mga nagtatrabaho nila, yun dapat ang tutukan nyo. Padiport. Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri has also called for a boycott of products and investments with China after its Coast Guard fired the water cannon at the Philippine Coast Guard ship during a resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal last Saturday. Senator Francis Escudero, who earlier said he would not oppose reclamation on the basis of the U.S. Embassy's opposition to it, said charges should be filed against those who pushed through with the project despite its adverse environmental impact. Meanwhile, senators are supportive of the proposals to reinforce and refurbish BRP Sierra Madre, situated in the exclusive economic zone in Ayungin Shoal. Subiri committed to providing sufficient funding for the refurbishing of the Sierra Madre. Yes, not just to ward off the bullies in the north, but also for any possible natural calamities that may put our Marines in harm's way, he said. If funding is requested from us in the Senate, then the Senate will gladly comply. Ontiveros said if the Philippine Navy, Armed Forces of the Philippines, were to make a request that we reinforce and refurbish BRP Sierra Madre in the Human Shoal, I would support that request. We should not only reinforce the very presence of our government and country in the Human Shoal, which is part of our EEZ. With additional report from Mark Jason Cayabyab and says Cecil Suerte Felipe. Good morning, Frederick Lazaro. Thank you for joining. Moving on to our global top story. Canada media seek probe of Meta's news blog report from Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Ottawa, Canada. Media on Tuesday asked Canada's competition watchdog to investigate Meta's blocking of news articles on Facebook and Instagram, accusing the tech giant of using its dominance to gobble up online advertising money. Meta began blocking news last week in response to a recent law requiring digital giants to pay publishers for news content. Google, another critic of the Online News Act, has said it is considering a similar move among an ongoing global debate as more governments try to make tech firms pay for such content. In a statement, industry associations News Media Canada and the Canadian Association of Broadcasters, as well as public broadcaster CBC and its French language counterpart Radio Canada, accuse Meta of anti-competitive conduct and abuse of its dominant position in the online advertising market. Meta's blocking of news on its platforms in Canada, they said, effectively prevents Canadian media from gaining fair slice of the advertising pie and significantly reduces their visibility on social media channels. Meta's anti-competitive conduct, which has attracted the attention of regulators around the world, will strengthen its already dominant position in advertising and social media distribution and harm Canadian journalism, the association said. They asked the Competition Bureau to prohibit Meta from continuing to block Canadians' access to news and press Meta to refrain from discriminating by algorithm or by any other means against content from Canadian news organizations. Meta did not react to the competition complaint, but has said the Online News Act is flawed and based on the incorrect premise that Meta benefits unfairly from news content shared on our platforms when the reverse is true. Rather, it said, news outlets share content on Facebook and Instagram to attract readers, which helps their own bottom line. The bill builds on similar legislation introduced in Australia and aims to support the struggling Canadian news sector that has seen a flight of advertising dollars and hundreds of publications close in the last decade. It requires digital giants to make fair commercial deals with Canadian outlets for the news and information that is shared on their platforms or face binding arbitration. An estimated 80% of all online advertising revenues in Canada goes to Meta and Google. Meanwhile, Facebook and Instagram together account for more than 70% of the online social media market in the country, according to media associations. The Parliamentary Budget Watchdog in October 2022 report estimated the legislation would see Canadian media receive about 330 million Canadian dollars, or approximately, or 250 US dollars million, 250 million dollars per year from digital platforms. Moving on to our regional updates. The regional updates is brought to you by The Shed. Please scan the QR code to see their offerings. PNP, the boss cops shot teen over mistaken identity. Report by Manuel Tupas to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The Philippine National Police yesterday vowed justice for a 17-year-old boy who was killed by policemen in Nabuata City in what the PNP described as a case of mistaken identity. Good morning, Admin Sol. Brigadier General Redrico Maranan, the PNP's public information officer, said a thorough investigation is underway to determine the circumstances that led to the death of Jerhud Jemboy Baltasar during a police operation in Barangay North Bay Boulevard, South Canlaran on August 2. We will give justice to Jemboy and we will make sure the investigation will be fair and swift, Marana said in Filipino during a news briefing at Camp Crame. 6 police officers, 1 executive master sergeant, 3 staff sergeants, 2 corporals, and a patrolman are facing a complaint of reckless imprudence resulting in a homicide and have been placed under restrictive custody, Marana said. The policemen were pursuing a suspect in a shooting incident whom they believe was hiding in a boat. Based on the initial investigation results, Maranan said the policeman mistook Baltazar as the one they are looking for after the boy jumped into the water from a boat. One of the police officers fired into the water, hitting Baltazar. They later realized that he was not the suspect of their manhunt. It is for this reason that instead of murder, only complaints for homicide were filed against the lawman before the Nawatas prosecutor's office, as what happened was a case of mistaken identity, according to Maranan. The firearms of the policemen will be subjected to ballistics examination to determine who among them fired the fatal shots. We will not tolerate the lapses and errors of police officers, Maranan said. Baltasar was on his way to fish when he was shot and killed by the police officers, GMA News reported. A friend who was with Baltasar said they were preparing their boat at noon on August 2 when a policeman ordered them to get off. They reportedly tried to surrender, but the police fired at them and kept shooting at Baltasar as Baltasar dove into the water. Kawawa naman. Pinagkamalan. Moving to our next regional top story, Manila City Council declares drag artist persona non grata. Report by Giong to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The Manila City Council declared Pura Luca Vega a persona non grata in the city during a session on Tuesday, condemning the drag artist's impersonation of Jesus in performances. All 26 councilors who attended the session, which was presided by Vice Mayor Yul Servo Nieto, and Majority Floor Leader Jong Isip uh, approved the resolution proposed by District 5 Councilor Ricardo Isip Jr. to have Vega will name Amadeus Fernando Pagente proclaimed unwelcome in Manila for performances portraying the Black Nazarene of Quiapo City or Quiapo Church, which the lawmakers believe is a symbol of the city. Earlier, the councils of General Santos City and the municipalities of Florida Blanca in Pampanga and Taboso in Negros Occidental passed similar passed similar resolutions. Vega is facing a complaint by the Philippines for Jesus Movement filed in Quezon City for violating Article 201 of the Revised Penal Code and Republic Act 10175 or the Cybercrime Prevention Act. Article 201 punishes persons who perform indecent or immoral acts, whether live or in film, that, that offend any race or religion. Huwag po natin masyadong gagamitin yung freedom of expression. Dapat po i-consider din natin yung sensitivities po ng mga ibang tao rin. Yeah. Let us be more prudent in our actions towards other people. Cebu bans hog sport from Bohol. Report by the Philippine Star. Good morning, Brother Hermin Aspil. Thank you for joining. Manila, Philippines. The 60-day ban on the entry of hogs, pork, and its byproducts from Bohol is being implemented in Cebu province after African swine fever was detected in Pilar Town. On Tuesday, Governor Gwendolyn Garcia issued an executive order imposing the ban, citing the need to protect the 11 billion peso hog industry in Cebu. Livestock transport trucks and reefer vans from the province of Bohol, which were issued Cebu provincial livestock transport passes in order to carry the hogs, live hogs, and pork products are banned from entering Cebu. Garcia's TO number 21 read, the government called on the Philippine National Police, Philippine Coast Guard, Cebu Port Authority, and mayors in the province to monitor their area of jurisdiction and implement the ban. In March, Bohol imposed a ban on live hogs and pork products from Cebu after ASF was detected in Carcar City. While majority of new cases of ASF are confined in the Visayas, Antique, Biliran, Siquijor, and Bohol, remain free from the swine diseases as of June. Report with additional report from the Freeman. Moving on to sports. Time check is 6:30. Gilas women fall short versus Japanese to end Jones Cup stint at 1-4. Report by Ralph Edwin Villanueva to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The Gilas Pilipinas women's team ended its Jones Cup stint on a low note after they succumbed to undefeated Chanson V Magic of Japan 88-95 at the Taipei Peace Basketball Hall in Taiwan Wednesday afternoon. The Nationals started the fourth quarter ahead by a few points, 69-65, but the Japanese team proved why they are still yet to drop a game in the tournament as their offense heated up. Chanson V Magic limited the Philippines to just 19 points in the final frame while scoring 30 of their own. The Gilas women were down early in the game, but they came roaring back to cut the lead to just 3 by halftime, 41-44. The Filipino Hoopers ended the Jones Cup with a 1-4 win-loss record. Japan, meanwhile, climbed to 5-0 in the tournament. The Philippines also dropped a game on Tuesday, losing against South Korea's Busan BNK Sum, 59-65. Gilas women's first win of the tournament came against Iran, 64-60. And that completes our top stories for today, August 10, 2023, Tuesday, Thursday. Thursday. It's a Thursday morning. For those who will be reporting for work, start preparing. And here again is the summary of our top stories for today. Philippines, U.S. joint WPS patrols by year-end. DNR, DPWH study water impounding system versus floods. Marcos Jr., no government deal to leave Ayungin. Canada media seek probe on Meta's news block. PNP Nabota scalp shot teen over mistaken identity. Manila City Council declares drag artist persona non grata. Cebu bans hogs pork from Bohol. And finally in sports, Gilas women fall short versus Japanese to end Jones Cup stint at 1-4. And you have just listened to MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga, your daily dose of news, broadcasting live from the MSB community-based radio here in Barangay Maligaya. Please follow our FB page and our TikTok account as well. For announcement, public service announcement, please message me and I will be more than glad to do the announcements for you. Yung mga magpapabati po, mga birthday greets and shoutouts are also welcome. Again, thank you po kay Richelle Tayad, kay Ramon Berenguer, Dimple Cortez, Jaime Pangan, Frederick Lazaro, kay Brother Hermin Aspil for joining me this morning, kay Admin Sol for supporting, for sharing the live to our friends and other Facebook pages. So I'll be seeing you again tomorrow, same time for another episode of MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. And on Saturday, we will have our regular program, Magkasangga sa Buhay. We will be posting a Facebook reel, an FB reel, teasers on the guests that we will have on Saturday. Medyo maganda po yung maganda po yung topic natin sa darating na Sabado. At super exciting po yung ating magiging bisita. So, napaka-relevant po na pag-uusapan, kaya sana po masamahan niyo kami sa darating na Sabado. So, thank you very much, everyone. Have a pleasant Thursday ahead. And God bless everyone.